Fighting games are difficult games to learn, but mastering fighting games means mastering one key skill above all else: motivation. It doesn't matter if your execution and strategy are perfect if you don't play the game past a week. Motivation can make or break a player, so finding and maintaining motivation is the most important skill a fighting game player can master. For the sake of this video, I will define fighting games as traditional 2D and 2.5D fighters, a competitive game featuring two players going head-to-head along a 2D plane, such as Street Fighter, Tekken, Mortal Kombat, and Guilty Gear. Nothing against the subgenres of fighting games, but a lot of the research done on this topic was done exclusively on traditional fighting games. First off, what is motivation? Motivation is defined as a drive reflected in choices and actions, as well as the amount of determination and persistence in an individual's efforts at goal attainment. Basically, motivation is the drive to complete a goal. In the case of fighting games, the clear goal is to win, which you do by getting better. When looking at top players play the game, however, sometimes it might feel impossible to play as well as them. It's almost as if they have some sort of innate talent that you are either born with or born without. Maximilian Dude Christensen, however, disputes this theory in his video, Talent vs. Hard Work. Is there a shortcut for fighting games? Real talk. In it, Christensen states,
"It's an absolute myth that natural talent exists. What you're not seeing is the countless amount of hours that they've put into being okay to great at it."
These top players have spent countless hours practicing, losing, and improving before they enter tournaments, exercising their motivation to get good. But where do these players get their motivation? It's different for every player. There are two types of motivators when it comes to video games. Extrinsic motivation, which is a motivation provided by the game itself, such as a story or challenges to complete, and intrinsic motivation, which is a motivation that is not provided by the game and comes from outside of it. In J. Ingram and Joseph Kagemi's paper, Video Games, Motivation, Effects, and Clinical Implications on Self-Esteem, they cite a study that found that players felt more motivated to play an online game that rewarded and punished a player based on their performance. One way to reward and punish a player's performance is through an online ranking system. Looking at ranking systems in fighting games compared to MOBAs such as League of Legends, Nicholas Majenten Shinhan Taylor and John Velociraptor Guerrero found that fighting games' online ranking systems in Extrinsic Motivator were lacking. The ranking systems for the majority of fighting games do not necessarily reflect skill, but rather time devoted. Taylor and Guerrero point out that in most fighting games, such as Street Fighter V, the online ranking system only reflects who has the most points, which are gained from winning matches against opponents. A new fighting game player and a veteran to the genre will both start off with 0 points, filling the lower ranks with players who don't know how to play and players who know how to play too well. Meanwhile, MOBAs like League of Legends possess a complex ranking system that features placement matches, where a player gets assigned a specific rank due to their performance, and seasonal resets, where everyone's ranks are reset after a certain amount of time. After completing their placement matches, a player will see where they stack up in the world and resolve to get better, seeing a number go up as they do. The seasonal resets also encourage players to return to the game to get a better rank than they did last season. Fighting games, for the most part, lack these features that provide an extrinsic motivation, but what does a good ranking system matter if there's not a good online experience? Poor network performance can seriously hamper any online gaming experience, but more so with fighting games. The fighting game genre is one that rewards quick reactions, consistent execution, and strategy, but all of that flies out the window if your opponent is teleporting across the stage during an online match. There are two forms of networking code that is used in fighting games: delay and rollback. Delay-based netcode delays both players' inputs to make up for the lack of stability in a connection. Rollback netcode does not delay the inputs, but will roll back the game if the players' games become out of sync. To put it simply, rollback is king and delay is garbage. So, it is no surprise that when a game has a bad online experience, the online population for a said game plummets over time, as documented in David Cabrera's article about netcode on Polygon.com. The lower the population, the worse the connections get, and the less motivated you feel to play the game. So, fighting games, for the most part, lack complex extrinsic motivation. Then what motivates top players to get good at the game? Community. In Ingram and Kagemi's paper, they mention another study that found a major motivative factor for players were community and competition, two key traits of the fighting game genre. Fighting game players rely on each other to find and share new techniques, as well as for competition, creating a community. The fighting game community is a diverse community, with a healthy amount of minorities in top player positions. Compared to other communities like StarCraft, the fighting game community is bursting with diversity. It's much easier to identify with the community if you see more people like you, as Tom Cannon, a black professional StarCraft player of yore, spoke in an interview. When you look at the crowd, it's literally like find the black person. It's all Korean people from Korea, or Asian Americans, or Caucasians. Almost 100%, and it's a little bit intimidating to think, okay, I'm gonna go in here and be a part of this thing, when there's nobody who looks like me in the scene. Playing matches with people who look like you, talk like you, and think like you can be an important motivator when it comes to playing a game. A player might learn how to play a fighting game competently to play better and longer with their friends, which is how the fighting game community got its start in the arcades. At the end of the day, however, it doesn't matter what your motivation is, but that you are motivated. Motivated to be better than you are, motivated to achieve your goals, in fighting games or in real life. Go find what motivates you, be it achieving a goal or joining a community, and strive to improve. Because by mastering motivation, you can achieve whatever you dream of. It doesn't matter if that's being a good fighting game player or passing a class. Motivation is the key to success.
Now, I'm motivated.